Hey everybody, my name is Axel Villamil and welcome to 24 Shades of Blue. I'm here with Lauren Pogue. She's Staff Superintendent of Toronto Police Service of Detective Operations. Lauren, welcome to the show.
Hi, good morning, Axel. Thank you.
Super exciting to have you in the studio today. I read your bio and it is quite extensive in terms of all the amazing milestones you've hit in your career. Can we talk a little bit about your journey in the force?
Sure. Yeah. So I started, I'm in my 34th year. So I started in 1988, right out of university, just wanting to drive a car because that's all I really knew about policing. And I did a short time up at 31 Division and then ended up in 12. And 12 Division, sort of a west area of the city. And spent a bit of time learning the frontline responsibilities, and I had no idea that there was so many opportunities. Obviously, until my career progressed. So from 12 Division, I ended up going into back then we had district drug squad, so I went into the one district drug squad, working downtown core 14 Division, 13, 11, and 12, and we just focused predominantly on street level drug trafficking and some mid-level investigations as well. And it was after a few years there that I had an opportunity to go to a newly formed squad called the Fugitive Squad. And there had been a number of high-profile cases where people who had committed crimes in other jurisdictions had fled to Toronto. And Toronto, of course, is a very large city, very diverse city, and it attracted a lot of people who were trying to evade prosecution in other jurisdictions, whether it be overseas or from the United States. And I worked in that unit for many, many years, actually, just looking for, again, for fugitives and parolees as well who were wanted and whatnot.
So niche. I never even realized that. I mean, now that I think about it, absolutely needs to be a squad that needs to be formed, because it sounds like a lot of people actually do that. So specific.
Yeah, and it was really it was a very interesting time because I'd always worked locally in partnerships, but this was really involving like the U.S. Marshals, the FBI, the U.S. Department of Justice, and Interpol. So very, very different nature of work. Trying to investigate these things and then successfully return those fugitives back to their country to face trial.
Wow, you really have jumped around a lot. And then there's also something about intelligence services, and that is in coordination with Fugitive Squad, or is that in its own thing?
No, it's a different unit.
Got it.
Yeah.
Amazing. So another amazing tidbit that I heard is that you're the first female unit commander in the Hold Up Squad. Can you tell us a little bit about Hold Up Squad?
Yeah, so Hold Up Squad, I was there for a few years recently, and I'd come in on the heels of a sort of an infamous unit commander there, Mike Earl, who had been around forever, a notorious investigator. And it's an incredible unit. They do everything other than street robberies. So they're investigating bank robberies, retail robberies, home invasions, and armored cars and whatnot. And again, some things occur in the city of Toronto, but it is another unit as well that relies heavily on our partnerships with particularly the Greater Toronto Area Police Services, because a lot of times crimes are committed across different jurisdictions. And those partnerships and that communication and sharing of information is really integral to the success of solving those crimes, because you will get people who will move from jurisdiction to jurisdiction to commit similar crimes. So it's important that we connect them to solve and arrest the people responsible.
Wow. I'm just picturing in my head your career. You just look like this superhero going up the ranks and doing your thing, and you already sound like a superstar. So I want to talk about superstardom. No, not a problem. It sounds like, it's not easy in any organization, especially in the police force, to keep doing what you're doing. And then I think in your end, you've accomplished so much. And one of the cool things, as I say, superstar, is that you're one of America's most wanted.
Oh, yeah. So funny back in the day in Fugitive Squad, and I'm going to date myself now, Axel, because this is this is like probably the time of dial-up internet. Not everybody had a computer at home, and it was a big deal to tune into America's Most Wanted on a Saturday night. So we had been running several days trying to track somebody who was wanted in the U.S. for pretty serious sexual assaults. and we had some good information. And so we were working very, very long hours trying to locate him. We were set up on an address, and the funny thing is, I think we'd spent 4 or 5 days, and we hadn't seen him yet, and we'd worked very late the night before. Went home and had to start early the next morning again, and I jumped in the shower quick, but I'm like, I don't think I'm going to wash my hair today. I'm just going to throw a baseball cap on. And we went out there. We were successful in apprehending him. And right away, a team of producers, I guess, came right to see us and wanted to interview us to feature that on the follow-up America's Most Wanted.
Wait, this producer just came out of nowhere and just like saw the apprehension?
Well, no. What happened was we apprehended him. We let the officers know in the U.S. that he was in custody, and then somehow the show found out. So it was almost immediate. Within a few hours, there was a team of people that wanted to film us and interview us on the capture.
Oh my gosh!
And of course, I had this baseball cap on that was sort of,
but that's like
I was kind of shading my face, and they're like, "Can you remove that hat?" And I'm like, "No, I don't think so." Like,
like the hair's
not with
not
hair
done.
like this, no. But it was a big deal because my family's all Northern Ontario, and of course everybody tuned in, and I'm sure I have a copy of that on a VHS tape somewhere. So.
Need to see it because that's huge. Yeah, I remember watching that, and it was such a big deal, like you said, on Saturday night to watch. So how was the apart from your family, but with your colleagues when they saw that? How was that interactions?
Yeah, no, it was good. Everybody, a lot of people had seen it and were excited about it.
That's super cool. Well, I can't wait to watch it because I feel like you're playing it down, and I feel like you were really cool on it. So I want to go ahead and see that. I do want to talk about one of the other parts of your job, which is actually working with the community of Indigenous leaders. Can you tell me about your work there and what you do?
Yeah, so shortly after I was first promoted to the senior officer ranks, I was invited to sit on our Chief's Aboriginal Consultative Committee. So I helped co-chair that with another senior officer, Rob Johnson, and a very important member of the Aboriginal or Indigenous Community, Frances Sanderson, who has been volunteering her time with the Toronto Police Service for, I think it's over 25 years. So she's another co-chair. So we meet monthly, and it's Indigenous community partners throughout Toronto, and some people just volunteering their time, where we discuss important issues and how we as the police service can help the Indigenous community, how we can kind of bridge that gap, improve our relationship and develop that trust and confidence in the work that we do to support them.
Amazing. How do you currently see the relationship right now? Is it getting better with things that you've been doing with the communities?
I think it's getting better, and one of the really important pieces of that is our Aboriginal peacekeeping unit. And a lot of people don't know that we've had a dedicated unit for over 20 years, and we have officers who work there full time. Right now, there's currently 2 officers, but at one time there was more. And their daily responsibilities is to make those connections and work one-on-one with the community.
That's amazing. I think it's super important because especially with a lot of things going on and in the media, it's great that we're talking about this on the podcast because people need to know that does exist.
Yes.
And surprisingly enough, as I was talking to Meg, head of communications, TPS, I was telling me all these other roles that other people have in terms of representing different identities throughout. So I think it's great that TPS has this and that you work with that. In terms of organizations that you work with, yourself, that you'd like to mention on the show, could you talk about those as well? I mean, you already spoke about the ones with Indigenous communities, but
yeah, the one other piece I wanted to mention about the Indigenous community is the training that they helped us with as well. So one of the things we're looking at as a police service is obviously always looking at our policies and procedures and ensuring that they're aligned with current practices. And so we were looking at training and how we can ensure that all our members have a real sort of foundation on what some of the issues are over the years and what adversity the Indigenous community has faced. So they put together a presentation that unfortunately was currently on hold as of last year, but this coming year we all have to go to our police college for a annual training, which includes use of force, but also in-class training. So there's an Indigenous module now that our officers will be introduced to. And it just talks about historically, all the different things that have gone on. Of course, the residential school issues are at the forefront. the 60s scoop, and just a lot of the things that they may encounter, items of religious significance that we may encounter in the community, and how to deal with that. And
how about
and
traditions?
whatnot.
Do they learn about traditions
Traditions as well? Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Or I said, I feel like that's so huge to understand, the way people act because of, one, historically, things that have happened. At the same time, also better understanding the communities and a whole helps them better deal with them and communicate easier. So
for sure, we've got medicine there. There's medicines and of course smudging and whatnot. And the other piece of that is we've recently hired an Indigenous engagement specialist as well. I'd sat on the hiring process for that, and we have Fred Martin with us, and he's really looking at everything in our organization as well, and how we can continue to be better.
That's amazing. Is there anything you would say to any viewers right now or listeners out there about where they can get resources to, if they are Indigenous, and they can speak to people and, get that help from other officers?
Yeah, certainly our Aboriginal peacekeeping unit, which is actually located at headquarters.
Right beside it.
Yeah, so that's actually a community organization beside it, but our Aboriginal peacekeeping unit is actually within headquarters on the main floor, and they can be contacted. Their numbers are on our internet, our outward-facing page as well.
Okay, amazing. And then, I kind of want to get into you yourself as well, in terms of you're a mother as well. And, I think it sounds like you've had a very, very busy career. Did any of the work that you do, especially working with, Fugitive Squad and Hold Up Squad, that was, I guess, took a toll on you in terms of like mentally? How did you deal with it? How did you balance it out when you came home? Were you the type to leave it at home or leave it at work? Or is there times where it did affect you?
I think I'm pretty good at leaving at work. I mean, the nature of the units that I've worked in, they're not really like a Monday to Friday day type job, So there's a lot of changing of shifts, lots of long hours, lots of phone calls, and that's important to ensure that we're addressing public safety as things are unfolding, and we're dealing with that. But I think one of the biggest things I had is a very supportive partner. My husband, obviously, understands and knows how much I enjoy this work, and has always been very, very supportive. So together we've managed to navigate, the young years. My youngest is actually 20 today. So
oh, wow.
Now they don't need me anymore. So
happy birthday.
Yeah, so I can focus on work again a little more.
Of course. I mean, it's 20 is a very fun time. That's the start of, everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think back to talking about your partner, that is one of the most key things. I mean, I've noticed in my career as well, is that if you having a supportive partner and a supportive unit with you, it's so important to help you, achieve your dreams and your goals. It's understanding. And I think that's one of the things that's really good. In terms of your own colleagues too, how were they, as you worked with so many different, people in the force, how was it to work with such a diverse group of people? Because it sounds like everybody had different professions. Yeah,
no, it's been incredible. I mean, you spend a lot of time in policing with your partners, so it's it leads to some real very, very close knit teams, right? And we all do help each other through those times when with the long hours that we're putting in. And
yeah, absolutely. In the 34 years, how have you seen TPS grow in terms of, I guess, back to a lot of the work that you do with the Indigenous communities? How have you seen it grow from before and what it is now?
Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest thing I've noticed is certainly the development in our partnerships with everyone. Like, there isn't a unit that I've been in where partnerships haven't been integral to our success. Sometimes it's at the local area. Like, I just came from 53 Division and 13 Division. And so it was the first time where I wasn't sort of dealing with more international or multi-jurisdictional partnerships. It was real grassroots. The residents in that community are, the BIAs, the local city councilors and whatnot. And so I think we really, really rely heavily on those partnerships, because together is how we accomplish our goals.
Absolutely. If there's one thing, to close this up in that, why you've been in this industry so long, what is the thing what's your why here? What is your why?
I don't want to sound corny, but it really is about public service, right? I serving the community that we work hard for, and then trying to address, quality of life issues and public safety issues. I think that's really, really important.
That's amazing. It must be something good to take home. If there's anything that you take home from that, it's feeling good about the public service that you do.
No, for sure. And I, in the role I'm in now as well, and previously as a unit commander in Midtown, I think it's important to highlight the hard work that our members are doing. They're people are frequently reaching out to acknowledge the incredible work, the compassion our members show. And, an example of a community initiative is, which really kind of struck me yesterday when I watched a video about it, was one of our officers had come up with an initiative to provide bikes for the community during the lockdown, because it was so important to people's mental health, to exercising, to getting out during the pandemic. And so there's been several days now where they've collected bikes. They've partnered with the Gateway, the Bike Hub, where the bikes are repaired and fixed, and then they size them and give them to residents in the community. And I'd heard a story yesterday about a young man who was fairly new to Canada, was gifted one of those bikes and ended up becoming a food delivery person and put himself through college, with that bicycle. So I think, that whole community piece is really important, and acknowledging the work that our members do.
It's the little things, at the end of the day. It really is. And if something like that can change somebody's life, what do we know? What else we do, especially with the little things that your teams help out with every day. So that's amazing to know. I'm sure that it does really kick back and make you feel proud of the
really
journey.
Does.
That's awesome. Well, Lauren, I want to thank you for your time here. And if there's anything you'd like to say to your colleagues or to the rest of the listeners out there, is there any piece of advice you can give them?
No, just thanks for having me today. And
amazing.
Be here.
All right. My name is Axel Villamil, and that was 24 Shades of Blue. We're out.